Hi, I just wanted to let you know this will be the season finale of Simply Stated Ghost Stories. I will get through it pretty quickly today. This episode will be about Rachel McAdams. She has been a client of Endeavor WE for a long time and was actually also a member of the Russian FSB. And just to going forward, there will be more Simply Stated coming up, but I don't want you to think that it's going to be like as in depth or sort of gory as some of the stuff that was on the Simply Stated Ghost Stories. I feel like there's enough current events to cover that we could go through to get back to just doing the shorter, in my car walking around episodes of Simply Stated. So, as far as Rachel McAdams goes, she's not a very well known actress, but it's kind of important to understand that she mastered the use of Chinese MS systems. And she's been completely obsessed with attacking women who are not Russian here in the US or at all attractive. She attacked me back in Janesville, Wisconsin. She was in the DC area and it was turned out they investigated and realized she'd been attacking me and trying to do remote attacks there. She uses Booz Allen Hamilton to commit those. And she actively participates in executing trafficking campaigns for Endeavor. She's pretty clearly wearing a visage of somebody else, like photoshopped in images that you would see like on a red carpet or movies. It's what she looks like in real person is sort of different. You would have had to know her as I did to sort of understand all that. She's pretty clearly a psychopath and actively supports the abuse of children, organ trafficking, and actively tries to fights with people who've been victims. She'll go after people who've been victims of rape or attacked and try to make a big deal about what's happened to them, which is just totally acceptable. It's never acceptable to bring up a victim's experiences to them, and is a frankly actionable offense. She was turned in by Blake Shelton this past year, who has been her lover for quite some time. I'm not really sure why he did that. I think it was just a choice he made on his own. Um, and then there's also the fact that she was involved with Buffalo Bill, and he had thought at one point he might marry her, and then it turned out that, she ended up, I guess, he finally realized how many men she was sleeping with. She's also been involved with a U.S. Marine for a long time and not realized that he actually was collecting intel on her, and I'm not going to name who that is because there's no reason to do that. What I will say about it is she was actively involved with Cersei Wilhelm back in Janesville, Wisconsin, and participated in a lot of terrorist attacks there. The stuff with the weird HVAC attacks and attacking people in the streets. Some of the other stories I told you about the gruesomeness of what happened to me. She participated in all that. Pretty obnoxious supporter of child predators and organ trafficking. And she has also been in a relationship with Buffalo, but that's probably gone on for like 23 years. I think he decided to turn her in back during the 2010s, even though he has another wife, or formerly has another wife. And more than that, whenever she's around, you'll end up hearing like messages about Matt Damon and crap like that. One of the things I noticed with the weird cult around that she's a part of is that they think whether or not somebody knows Matt Damon or thinks they know Matt Damon, it means you owe them money. The reality is none of us would owe anyone money for ever having seen someone who looked even remotely like Matt Damon or think they know him. My experience was that I know a guy named Tim Wertz growing up in the 80s in Dubuque, and he pretty clearly became mentally ill, or was mentally ill. He was dealing with abuse from his parents, who helped found Endeavor, and ended up, propositioning a lot of older women in town. And at one point, I told him I was going to cut him off as a friend. Then he got angry and raped me, and I, took justice from him and forgave him over time. But he pretty clearly was killed. His parents said they were going to kill him, and Cersei Wilhelm said they were going to kill him, and they killed him. And he was replaced by a man that you know today as David Bowman, who went on to become Matt Damon in the film world. And if anyone were to say, do you know Matt Damon? I'd say no. Because the person I knew, Tim Wertz, is dead, and it's his image that's been stolen and used in films. But she was part of that weird cult. They was trying to say, do you know Matt Damon and giving us money? And it sounds laughable, but that's why it worked for the FSB. They do dumb crap like that, and people don't really get what it is or how bizarre everything has become. So I'm just saying, piece of advice if it says, Matt Damon, be like, no. You know who does know him though? David Bowman actually is Brendan Fraser. The actor you know is Brendan Fraser. Yeah, they're actually really good friends. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, quote unquote Matt Damon, not actually good friends. And what I want to pivot back to around on all of this is that, David Bowman set up a lot of the trafficking operations. And bizarrely, the two of them have been especially linked to each other, but they've managed to keep that, under wraps. And this is why I'm really fed up with TMZ Entertainment, ET News or whatever. I think they're both just literally owned by Endeavor now, I don't think either of them actually do. They literally just take what's sent to them as press releases and put that out as news stories. Well, that's not news. You have to do actual investigative and reporting. It has to have some independent thought. And so I want to caution anyone here. I know some of you like to give information me a source out, information to me, use me as a source, or give me information. You don't want to be my source for the shows, and that's great. But you can't get into it to the point where you think it's going to give you a producer credit or whatever, because I'm going to take the information and interpret it as I see fit. It's something I learned how to do from Glenn Reynolds, who's an actual lawyer, when I was living in the DC area. And it's important because I'm the one who has all the experience with the investigations and has had the first-hand experience. I went through 30 plus years of trafficking. I've survived, losing my housing, having to get my dog, going through all this stuff because of this ridiculous trafficking operations and how insane the labor trafficking has become in the US. And I'm like everybody else. I have injuries from it all and still continue to work and put one foot forward in front of the other. But that is the reason for the shows. I continue forward with them. But so just remember, Rachel McAdams doesn't really look exactly like her sort of movie star persona that's photoshopped for her. She's a completely different look to her in real life, just like JLo does. And so it's important to be aware of that. And just to be like cognizant of that at all times if you know her. Because I think for a number of you around Traverse City, since she's been up here, she very clearly does some kind of covert work for the FSB and specifically for Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton as far as terrorist attacks. And it's important to remember that she's around. And I don't know why she bothered coming up here. I mean, this just wasn't really a good place for her, but it's not to say that I have to care for her. I'm just letting other people know. And also it's for myself as much as anything else, because I don't want any of these people to think that they're actually on friendly terms with me at all, or that I support them. I just don't want everyone ever to be confused, like anyone and everyone, because I'm someone who's very professional and try to be polite, and that's really all it is, So, have a good one. This has been the season finale of Simply Stated Ghost Stories. Thank you so much.